soon.
Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of the 4th week of the Fantasy League podcast with Jerry and CT. For this part, we're going to be, as you guys know, going over this week's matchups and giving some previews and making some guesses on who we think is going to win. But first, a word from our sponsor. Jerry?
Yes, we got a sponsor this week. This message is from the law firm of Leinert, Leonard, and Schmee. Is another fantasy team pushing you around or straight up abusing you? Are you getting dominated like the Texas D-line in the second half of Cotton Bowl? Then call the lawyers at Leinert, Leonard, and Schmee. We will fight against your opponent and fight for your right to win. I'm a family man, and remember, you have a family too. So call us to protect you and your family against fantasy opponents going off in early games. We will come back, fight, and win for you. Call us now.
Leonard and Schmee. That's great. That's great.
So
Thank you.
That's our sponsor. Law firms are loving our fantasy little podcast here. So,
yeah. Well, thank you for your sponsorship, guys, and we're looking forward to it. So here, let me share my screen here with you guys, and we'll go look at this week's matchup. Jerry, where would you like to start?
I'm doing the number 1 team, Schmee versus Rowe, as the first matchup.
Okay, Schmee versus Rowe.
It's kind of like honors on the tee box. Schmee's first, so we'll go over his first. My kind of notes here are: it was TB needed to have another amazing game for RO to hang with Schmee in this matchup, and after Thursday Night Football, it just didn't happen. For some reason, Tampa Bay was so focused on the run. I think I looked at the numbers, and the Eagles' running defense is pretty bad. And so that's what they focused on. And, of course, that's not going to help Godwin or Tom Brady. Schmee with 2 great running backs, great wide receivers, and great matchups. I think you can attest how KC's defense is. And I don't think the Giants are amazing defense, so that should really help him. And then I just now realize that we keep talking about this double-up opportunity, and Schmee traded for one. Now he has Stafford and Kupp, and that could be huge opportunities going forward. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on this one. Schmee has a great team. He's first place. Thursday Night Football was an early warning sign that this one's going to be over quick. So I got Schmee by 20.
Okay.
That was probably even before Thursday Night Football.
Yeah. Well, I think Tyreek is at risk of not playing.
Really?
He's got I think he has a quad contusion. So we'll see if he's limited or 100% for the game this week. And you can see the running back situation is not ideal for RO, although McKissick could be in for a big game against Kansas City. They could be in negative game script, so positive for him. But I just don't think there's enough there with how strong Schmee's team is. This looks like 120 to 80 blowout to me, so I'm going to go Schmee by 40.
Oh, nice. You doubled me up there. Yeah, I have Schmee winning this one. You can just see the difference is David and Goliath in the running back matchups. Poor RO. He has Alex Collins on his bench, and it doesn't look like Carson will play, but that doesn't get him anywhere near Schmee's team. I guess you said with Kansas City, and he's got 2 of them. Do you think Kansas City wins this week at Washington?
I hope so. I'm hoping they win by 14. I think that they've got the nobody believes in us. Everyone thinks that we're washed vibe going on. So I'm hopeful they've got a good matchup. Everyone's playing Kansas City now though, where they don't blitz. They're rushing 3 or 4 guys and dropping 7 or 8 back into coverage. And they're turning Mahomes into Kirk Cousins. I read an article about this the other day, and it's if you don't blitz, you make these elite quarterbacks dink and dunk their way down the field, and Mahomes, just like anyone else, gets impatient and wants to take the big shots. And so we've just got to. I think Kansas City's last in the league in the number of drives, and so hopefully this week we take what the defense gives us and are able to. Maybe the defense will step up against Taylor Heineke-led Washington football team.
Very interesting that you said that about the Chiefs. Just I think their defense is horrendous, and it's not like the line is playing terrible like they did in the Super Bowl. I feel like the line has been fine, but yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive that they're not doing well because teams aren't blitzing. You see most young quarterbacks or most quarterbacks don't play well under pressure, but I guess Mahomes always has, and it's harder for him and his tendencies not just to dink and dunk. You'd think with the dink and dunk approach that Kelsey would be having a ton, more targets. But we'll see. I still don't. Even if Kelsey and Hill go off, I just don't see it going well for RO. So.
Yep. We'll see.
We stretched that one out probably more than we had to. Next, let's go to you versus CB my D.
Okay. What do you got here, Jerry?
All right. I got this one is going to be a very fun matchup. Both teams had great weeks last week, and now we're going against each other. I read a note that Mike Williams didn't practice Thursday, so that could be worrisome for CB, as Williams has had double-digit fantasy points in 4 of the 5 weeks. I mean, he had one dud against Las Vegas. I think that's just an anomaly. CB also has James Vulture Connor, as he's been getting a majority of the red zone work over Edmonds, which is where he's been making up a lot of points and helping CB cash in on that rare RB2 spot in our league. I feel like it's hard to get 2 real solid running backs in our league. Both QBs have great matchups going against bottom 4th of the league in passing yards allowed and yards per completion. In fact, Tennessee is bottom 5 and could be a huge game for Josh Allen. I think the 29 projected is way too low. I think he's going to go 35 to 40 range, somewhere in there. Just looking at each spot versus spot, it's going to be a very close matchup. I'm going with CB in this one. I feel like Washington's front could put pressure on Mahomes. That's them not blitzing. That's just those guys behind. It causes more problems than Josh Allen's matchup against Tennessee. I think Williams not being 100% or not playing could change that for sure. But right now, I'm going CB by Tennessee.
All right. Yeah, I think it's going to be a close one. I'm glad I got 15 points from Brown last night, and he only got 4 from his kicker. But I think, he's got some good matchups. Elliott's going up against a weaker run defense in New England. It'll be interesting to see. Hopkins is sick, so he may not play. He hasn't practiced in a couple of days, but we'll wait to find out on that. I don't know. Taylor's got a good matchup against Houston. Darrell Williams is a good matchup against Washington. I'm not going to pick a winner or a loser here just because it's my game, but I think there's some good.
I pick one on mine.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to. I'm biased here. So, I mean, I hope I win. I think I've got the matchups to win. But CB's been putting up some points, and I feel like he's always my kryptonite. I'm still hurting. A couple years ago, whenever I won, I had one loss that season, and it was to CB. The week I had like my entire team on bye, and Mahomes got hurt against Denver. He dislocated his kneecap, and I lost by 2 points that week, and it was the only loss that whole season. And I'm still bummed. It's like the one week, the one team. So, anyways, we'll see what happens.
I think Yahoo is undervaluing some of these games. I think that Cleveland-Arizona game is going to be back and forth, high scoring. So Hopkins is going to get a lot of targets. I definitely see him more than 10. I see Robert Woods. I mean, if they want to keep feeding him the ball, I see that more than 8. I don't know why that's so low. If Williams and Zeke are close to 100% in play, I definitely see Williams more than 12 and Allen more than 29. See on your side, I feel like Cooper at 11 is kind of high, and most of the other guys are probably right on. So I see this as a pretty close matchup.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see. It'll be a good one.
Yeah, that's a fun one. Nels. Next, I got Nels versus Scales.
Okay, let's see. Nels Scales. Tough start to the week for Nels.
Yes. Starting off, I put in my notes. I'm sure Nels was projecting more from Mike Evans after a great week last week, but like I said earlier, Tampa Bay focused on the run, and it looks like when they did throw it, they're throwing it to Antonio Brown and his tight ends. Like that's all Brady was looking for. He did look for Evans in the end zone, but then it was a pass interference call, and then they just ran it to Fournette. So just kind of unfortunate there for Nels. At least he was targeting him on a one-on-one matchup in the end zone, but just couldn't haul it in. Both teams have their stud running backs on bye, and both are starting just above average quarterbacks this week. But they both have pretty good matchups. KC is bottom 5 in passing yards allowed, and Houston is middle of the pack. But Wentz did look like his old self on Monday Night Football. There's another tough matchup to predict. I like Scales' running backs much better than Nelson's. Gaskin had a breakout game last week, but all his other weeks have been 6 points or less, so I don't expect another, double-digit game from him. But I like Nelson's receivers, Allen and Adams, especially if Mike Williams doesn't play. It kind of all comes down to if CMC doesn't play. If he doesn't play, I think it'll be close. If he does play, I think Nelson wins by double digits. Fields has the dreaded two guys playing against his defense that he's starting with DJ Moore and Hubbard. So he could hinder some points there if both of those guys, score a touchdown, but then it's the defense is going to lose some points in the same process. So it doesn't always work out that way, but it just kind of stinks when the two guys go against.
Yeah, I don't know how the matchup is against Chicago for Devontae. But Nels does have a good matchup with Wentz against Houston and Keenan Allen against Baltimore. Um, but I don't know that that's enough to overcome good matchup against Kansas City for Heineke, and then he's got a couple of stud receivers in Jefferson and Moore. Henderson's got a good matchup against the Giants. I guess McCaffrey must be out if they're projecting Chuba for 11.
Yeah, I don't think anything official has been said yet, but that is a good point. I guess when we get to Mays' team, we'll see what the note says, because there's kind of been a lot happening since I made these notes early Friday morning. So
yeah, we'll see. I'm going to take Scales in a close one in what I think will be the lowest scoring game of the week.
I actually took Nelson this one, but yeah,
Okay.
both aren't going to have great totals. Like I said, both kind of weaker quarterbacks. Nelson scrambling with Gaskin. Although, I mean, you just never know with Gaskin. I would project that he doesn't do very well, but at least it's a good matchup. And you sound like you're from London, so.
Hi. All right, where to next, sir?
I got Bryson versus not a playoff team, Wes.
Okay. Bryson versus Wes's not a playoff team. Well, quite the start for Wes's not a playoff team.
Yeah, I know this. Now I know why Bryson was saying F Fournette in the group me. He obviously is becoming the lead back in Tampa Bay. Sorry, Ronald Jones. But I don't know why it took so long, but Fournette did amazing in the Super Bowl, and now he's looking like the lead back this year. After he signed early last year, he looks like he's taken over the run game. It looks like Arians was focused on the run, and it paid off for a huge game for Wes. Could have been a lot worse against Bryson if we were in a PPR. He had 6 catches for 46 yards, so that could have been even more points. This is going to be another great matchup. It doesn't look like Carson's going to play, but Wes has Williams and other production on his bench to soak up his flex spot. I don't like Gesicki, but he has a great matchup against Jacksonville this week in London. Claypool getting a boost with Juju hurt is definitely a plus. Metcalf may have gotten downgraded, though, with Geno playing, so maybe those guys that kind of cancels out. We'll have to see what Geno can do. I mean, this is going to be the first game that he's playing a full game in like 4 or 5 years. I don't think he's that great, but maybe he can dink it and dunk it to some receivers and he'll get some points. I think Bryson has a great team, good running backs. He just got a huge boost from Chubb being out, so that projection 13 is probably going to be way higher. I feel like if Chubb plays, he usually gets 13 or 14 points, so him being the lead back should help him out. But I think Lamar against an awful Chargers defense is going to lead West to victory. I know it's a short week because they just played on Monday Night Football, but Lamar's going to drop back, see huge holes in the Chargers defense that can't be stopped by Just going to terrorize the field. Plus, it seems like he's throwing it better versus the OU boys. I have West winning by 6 to 8 points, especially if he changes defense. I said it earlier in the matchup recap, but West, please change your defense. Baltimore is okay to run, but they're the third worst passing defense. They showed on Monday night. It just looked so easy for Carson Wentz. Do not play them against Herbert. I think Herbert is going to. Those are my notes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just looking at this, I mean, Kyler, Arizona, Cleveland, that could end up being a high scoring game. Sutton's got a good matchup against Las Vegas. The Carolina matchup's blah. But I think so. Chubb has been ruled out officially, so Hunt is, assuming he plays, is going to be the guy against Arizona. And Mixon's got a great matchup against Detroit, and he's a week healthier. So I think, to your point, I mean, it's really going to come down to Lamar. The Chargers are a bad run defense. They have a decent pass defense, I believe. And so is Lamar going to run? Is Baltimore going to commit to the run? Are they going to run Latavius Murray a bunch, or give Tyson Williams or any of their other old guys any run? I don't know. But I think that the 24 points that West has already got with Fournette, plus Claypool in a smash spot against Seattle, Dalvin Cook is going to be back and healthy. Even if Carson doesn't play, I think West is going to find a way to win by 5 or 10 points, and so I'll go with West as well. I like some of Bryson's matchups, but and I won't be surprised if Bryson wins, but just feels like the year of West will continue.
Yeah, the Chargers actually do have they're top 10 and pass defense, but I think they're like bottom of the league in rush defense. So, I mean, a dual threat quarterback, I think he's going to make them work, and Lamar should have a big game, especially at home. Even with the tick up with Hunt, it wouldn't surprise me if Bryson won. Like you said, this isn't like some of the other matchups where we're really sure who's going to win, but I would lean West in this one as well.
Yep, I'm with you. All right.
Next one I got is my matchup, Jerry versus Mays.
Jerry versus Mays. Well, Mays, I'm surprised he started a quarterback with the early tea time this week.
I know. And then I started 2 Eagles to try and combat that because I thought they'd have big games against Tampa Bay's, kind of beat up secondary but it completely backfired. CT got Mays last week at a great time when he was completely, wiped out with injuries, but he could get CMC back. He's getting both receivers back. They practice in full. So I'm honestly nervous about they downgraded him to out.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's thank God. So I was really nervous with my guys not really producing last night. I'm still nervous. This is not a lock by any means. I played 2 Eagles receivers hoping that, Hurts would hit them, and he did for one of his touchdowns, but he ran it in for 2 touchdowns, which is definitely the worst case scenario for me. Putting up 26 points put up 26 points but only threw for 110 yards. It's crazy. I lost Williams to COVID, so that really puts me behind the eight ball in a RB2 matchup. I think Moss is the running back in Buffalo, and so that's a great pickup and play for Mays. Plus, I think last week Belichick took Cooks away, so we could have a great game against Indy. I think Cooks is a very underrated player, and especially in fantasy. He's a great receiver on a really bad team. Hopefully, Geno finds Lockett, but I'm scared the Pittsburgh defense is going to finally come alive on Sunday Night Football at home. Maybe stifles that offense of Geno and pressures him. TJ Watt pressure him, make him feel uncomfortable, get out of the pocket, inaccurate thrower. So I'm not really loving that matchup either. What a Monday Night Football game this is going to be for Mays and I. He has two receivers and a good running back versus my top running back. And it's going to come down to Monday, and I always hate that. But it's not a bad back to have. I desperately need a win, and please, fantasy gods, do not let me lose to right now. It's not looking great.
Jerry, I think this one's going to come down to how the game unfolds on Monday night, because Buffalo has got a great pass defense. And so if they are able to, I think the way Tennessee is going to stay in the game is by running Henry and running him a lot. If he has a big game, it's going to be at the expense of Brown and Jones. And if that happens, I can see you winning a close one. I also think you guys are going to be in the running for the low scoring game of the week. But I'm going to take you, Jerry, in a close one on the back of King Henry.
With CMC out, I'm taking myself as well. If I lose to him, without Christian McCaffrey, that's embarrassing. I may not do the podcast anymore, or I'll do it I'll have a bag on my head. I lost to Mays last year. He only had 2 wins, and one of them was against me because guess who he played that went off and beat me?
I have no idea.
Mike Williams. So
Mike Williams.
Mike Williams had like 3 points combined, and he played him that week, and he went off for 26 and barely beat me. So that was a brutal loss last year. I'm hoping to avoid that. I love that he's playing the Chargers defense. I hope they get smoked and he gets 0 or negative again from them. But I'm missing Ridley and got Williams on. Not that Williams is amazing, but he's a decent RB2 and got him on COVID. That's a big blow.
Yep. All right, where to next?
I think this is the last one, unless my notes are wrong. Jack versus Taylor.
That sounds right. Let's go there and see what we got.
Unless I'm missing a page out of my notes.
No, I think we got everyone. I think this is it. So.
All right. Both teams had great weeks last week, but still find themselves as like the Miami versus Jacksonville matchup of 10th versus 11th. So that kind of sucks. But I think both teams are going to go over their projected. The only weak spot on Taylor's team is I feel like Josh Jacobs is still dealing with turf toe. It says he'll get 9 points, but I feel like the Vegas is more of a pass first team, and he's not. I feel like he's still not 100%. Jack's going to be loving this Chargers versus Baltimore game. He has Herbert, who's looking like an MVP candidate, plus the OU tag team of Hollywood and Andrews, plus Murray against a horrific LAC defense. I think Jack's definitely going to be tuned into that game for fantasy purposes. But Taylor also has great matchups of Chase versus Detroit. I had Chubb against a bottom 5 rushing defense in AZ, but now he doesn't have Chubb, so that definitely changes things. I know he would love to see Diggs get going, but I think teams this year have been taking away Diggs, and that's why Sanders and other sides have, let the Bills focus on Sanders and Knox and out of their backfield, and they're just taking away Diggs. Surprise moves by the managers here as Jack is sitting Allen Robinson, who was a pretty high draft pick, and Taylor is sitting Robert Tonyan, I guess Taylor was tired of 4 out of the 5 games with 0 points. So,
Interesting.
He's sitting Tunyon, but watch him like go absolutely off this week. That would be hilarious.
Catch 3 touchdowns.
Yes. I mean, I hope he does because I have Rodgers, but that would be kind of funny. Yeah, click on Tunyon's. Can you go down to Tunyon's? Just look at his game log. Look at that. 0, 11, 0, 0, 0. He had 7 targets in that Pittsburgh game, but yikes.
Wow.
That sucks.
That's not good.
My final note is I think both teams score over 110. I wrote this before Chubb was out. I think Taylor may not get there now. And I have Jack wins by probably 10 or 11 now that Chubb's out. Who are his options at running back?
They're not good. Tony Pollard is his only other running back eligible player.
It's not terrible, but
so I think what you'll end up seeing him do is put Jacobs in for Chubb and then starting like Marvin Jones. So that's what I would guess he ends up doing. I don't know that it's gonna make a huge difference because I see Herbert having a big game against Baltimore. Although it's a West Coast team traveling over to the East Coast for a noon kickoff, so you could see the Chargers lay a real dud in Baltimore. But I think Herbert's a stud. He's going to have a big game. I think Gibson is probably going to have, if he plays, have a big game against Kansas City. And I think it's going to be too much to overcome. Although if Diggs does finally have one of his big games and New England isn't able to shut Prescott down, then, Taylor's got some good plays still. Again, with Chubb being out, I think this could end up being Jack by 10 or 12 points. So
that's about what I said. With Chubb in, I had it closer at like 4 or 5, but I think both teams are going to do well. I don't think really either of them are missing like key players on buys, so both these guys should score pretty good points.
Well, Jerry, I have a question for you. Do you know can you name the top 3 scoring wide receivers?
What, through 5 weeks?
Through 5 weeks.
One of them is gosh, I just had this. This Deebo Samuel.
And
he's on a bye.
He's on a bye this week. So there is an important player who's on a bye. Plus Saquon is hurt. So, Taylor is, even though Chubb is out, Taylor is catching Jack on a good week too. So
yeah. What am I talking about? Neither team's missing a guy on a bye. I mean, he's missing one of the top 3 players in the league at his position. I'm an idiot. Why am I on this podcast? That was an idiot statement. What's funny is we did that game and I couldn't even remember the top 3. It's Williams, Deebo, and that's really sad. I can't remember the second one.
Two Coopers, 1 Cup.
Go back through my notes. Oh yeah. Dang it! I think I even had a joke about 2 girls, one cup when we were doing Shmi's matchup, but I didn't say it. Oh well. I think we went through all the matchups. Should be a fun Sunday. I think this is a Sunday where we're not doing anything, so I can finally watch games. We'll see. Last week we were recovering from OU Texas, so
yeah. Well, Jerry, hope you have a good weekend. Good luck to everyone this weekend. Hope you guys score a lot of points and you win your matchup. Unless you're playing me, I hope you lose. And we'll be back next week to review how things go.
We will. Fuck you, Shmi.
All right, Jerry.